You wake to the sensation of warm liquid pooling beneath you. Your clothes are soaked with the fluids of labor, and the cramping in your belly tells you that your time has come. But as you struggle to sit up in the darkness of your chamber, terror grips your heart tighter than any labor pain ever could. You know what's coming. You've seen it happen to your mother, your sisters, your neighbors. In your village alone, 3 women died in childbirth last winter. Now it's your turn to gamble with death, and the odds are not in your favor. The midwife arrives with her bag of herbs and sharp instruments that look more like torture devices than medical tools. She arrives straight from assisting livestock births, unaware of hygiene risks. No one understands yet that the dirt under her fingernails carries death. Not from pain, though there's plenty of that, but from the knowledge that, with each examination, she could be introducing the childbed fever that killed your sister. She examines you roughly, her fingers probing inside you, and you grit your teeth against the pain. You're 14 years old. Your husband is 38, you've been pregnant 4 times already, but only 1 child survived past infancy. This pregnancy feels different though, wrong somehow. The baby hasn't moved in days, and there's a smell coming from between your legs that smells foul and unnatural. But you can't voice these fears. Women who speak of such things are accused of inviting evil spirits. So you suffer in silence, praying to a God who seems to have abandoned the women of your time. The room where you labor is stifling hot. They've blocked every window, stuffed rags under the door, and built the fire up until the air shimmers with heat. The midwife insists that cold air will make your womb close up, trapping the baby inside. You're sweating so profusely that your body shakes with chills, but still they pile more blankets on you. The smell of blood, sweat, and fear is overwhelming. You haven't been allowed to eat for 2 days because they believe food in your stomach will compete with the baby for space. You're weak, dehydrated, delirious with hunger, but this is considered proper preparation for birth. Hours pass, or maybe days. Time loses meaning when you're trapped in a cycle of agony. The contractions come in waves that threaten to tear you apart from the inside. Each one feels like searing waves of pressure in your abdomen. You scream until your throat is raw, but the midwife slaps you hard across the face. Noise attracts demons, she says. You must suffer quietly or risk your baby's soul. So you clench your jaw until it aches, holding back the scream. The baby isn't coming. You can feel it stuck inside you, its head too large or turned the wrong way. In another time, in another place, this would be a simple problem to solve. A skilled doctor would perform a cesarean section, saving both your lives. But this is medieval Europe, and the only time they cut babies from wombs is when the mother is already dead or dying. The church has decreed that the baby's soul is more important than the mother's life. If you die with the child still inside you, both souls are damned. So they wait, hoping against hope that nature will find a way. The midwife reaches for her tools, iron hooks and sharp knives that she'll use to perform a dangerous extraction if necessary. You've heard the screams of women who've endured this procedure. Most don't survive the blood loss. Those who do often die days later from infection. But what choice do you have? The baby must come out, dead or alive, whole or in fragments. Your life is secondary to the goal of extraction. She begins with the hooks, trying to catch hold of any part of the baby she can reach. The pain is beyond description. It's like being torn apart from the inside by red-hot metal claws. You can feel tissue tearing, blood pouring out of you in rivers. The midwife's arms are red to the elbows. The floor beneath you is slippery with gore. Still, she continues her grim work, removing fragments during the failed birth. Small parts of the baby emerge, damaged by the complications. You're hemorrhaging now. Blood pours from you in spurts that match your heartbeat. The midwife packs your womb with dirty rags, trying to stem the flow. She forces you to drink a concoction of ergot and herbs that makes you vomit violently. The convulsions worsen your condition, weakening you further. You're dying. You know it. Everyone in the room knows it. But still, they continue their futile efforts, more concerned with following proper procedures than acknowledging the inevitable. Your husband is summoned, not to comfort you, but to ensure the proper inheritance procedures are followed before you die. He stands in the doorway, refusing to enter the birthing chamber because male presence might upset your feminine humors. He's already thinking about his next wife, someone younger and stronger who might survive long enough to give him sons. You want to scream at him that this is his fault, that getting you pregnant year after year has destroyed your body, but you don't have the strength. Besides, everyone knows that pregnancy is woman's curse, punishment for Eve's sin. Your suffering is God's will. The priest arrives to perform last rites. He speaks in Latin, words you don't understand, while sprinkling holy water on your fevered brow. He's more concerned with the state of your soul than your physical agony. Did you have impure thoughts during pregnancy? Did you look at anything unseemly that might have marked the baby? Did you commit the sin of trying to prevent conception? You must confess all before you die, or face eternal damnation. So you whisper lies through bloodless lips, telling him what he wants to hear so he'll leave you to die in peace. But death doesn't come quickly in the birthing chamber. You linger for hours, sometimes days, as infection sets in. The childbed fever, they call it, though they don't understand that it's caused by the filthy hands that reached inside you. Your belly swells with putrefaction. The smell is so terrible that even the midwife gags when she changes your soiled linens. You burn with fever, then shake with chills. You see things that aren't there. Dead relatives beckoning from the corners of the room. The baby you just lost, whole and healthy, crying in your arms. Other women from the village come to sit vigil. They've all been where you are now, or fear they will be soon. They share their own horror stories in hushed whispers. Margaret, who bled for 3 days before dying. Sarah, whose baby's head was too large and had to be crushed with forceps. Anne, who survived the birth only to die 2 weeks later when her milk went bad and poisoned her blood. Each story is a warning and a prophecy. This is women's lot in life. This is what God demands of you. Your own mother arrives, if she's still living. She knows there's nothing to be done, but she sits beside you anyway, cooling your fever with cloth soaked in water that's probably contaminated with the same bacteria that's killing you. She looks at you with eyes that have seen too many daughters die this way. She tells you stories of your childhood, trying to distract you from the pain. But you're beyond distraction now. Your body is shutting down system by system. Your kidneys have failed. Your heart struggles to pump what little blood remains. Your lungs fill with fluid. The vultures gather. Not the carrion birds, but the humankind. Neighbors who owe you money suddenly forget their debts. Relatives appear to claim items they say you promised them. Your husband's mother arrives to ensure that your dowry returns to her family now that you failed in your primary purpose of producing heirs. They argue over your possessions while you're still breathing, dividing up your meager belongings as if you're already in the ground. If you're wealthy enough to have a physician attend you, your suffering only intensifies. These learned men with their university degrees know even less about childbirth than the village midwives. They prescribe bloodletting to balance your humors, draining what little strength remains. They force you to drink mercury to purge the bad spirits. They apply leeches to your swollen belly to draw out the corruption. Every treatment weakens you further, but they continue with absolute confidence in their methods. After all, if you die, it's God's will, not their incompetence. The position they force you to birth in defies all logic and nature. You must lie flat on your back with your legs in the air, fighting against gravity instead of working with it. This position was mandated by male physicians who wanted better access to use their instruments. The traditional squatting or standing positions that women used for millennia were declared primitive and dangerous. So you labor in the worst possible position, increasing your pain and the likelihood of complications. But who are you to question the wisdom of educated men? If you're unmarried and pregnant, your suffering multiplies exponentially. You're hidden away in shame, denied even the questionable care that married women receive. No midwife will risk her reputation attending to a fallen woman. You give birth alone in barns or back alleys, biting down on sticks to muffle your screams. If you survive, you face public humiliation, whipping, or worse. If your baby survives, it's taken from you and given to a proper family or left at the church steps. Your milk dries up in your breasts, causing excruciating pain and fever, but no one cares about the comfort of a whore. The tools of the trade are nightmarish. Primitive surgical tools used without anesthesia, often spreading infection and trauma. Each instrument is a weapon of torture disguised as medical equipment. They're never cleaned between uses. Blood and tissue from previous victims cling to the metal, ready to infect the next woman who needs their help. Medieval medical texts revealed the depth of ignorance surrounding childbirth. Physicians believed the womb could wander around the body, causing hysteria. They thought the baby chose when to be born and could refuse to come out if the mother had sinned. They prescribed treatments like fumigating the vagina with burning feathers or inserting pepper to sneeze the baby out. These weren't folk remedies from ignorant peasants. These were official medical procedures recommended by the most educated men of the time. The church's role in your suffering cannot be understated. They've declared that pain in childbirth is God's punishment for Eve's sin, so any attempt to ease that pain is heretical. Midwives who use herbs for pain relief risk being accused of witchcraft. The same plants that could ease your agony and possibly save your life are forbidden because suffering is, supposedly, holy. You must embrace the pain as penance for being born female. To do otherwise is to defy God's will. If you're lucky enough to belong to the nobility, your childbirth becomes a public spectacle. Courtiers gather outside your chamber, placing bets on whether you'll survive. The kingdom's stability depends on your ability to produce an heir, preferably male. The pressure is crushing. Queens who fail to produce sons are divorced or executed. Those who die in childbirth are quickly replaced. Your individual life means nothing compared to the political necessity of succession. The gossips spread rumors about why labor has gone wrong. Did you eat strawberries while pregnant? That would mark the baby. Did you step over a rope? That would tangle the umbilical cord. Did you look at a hair? That would give the baby a cleft lip. Every old wives' tale becomes an accusation. If something goes wrong, it must be your fault. You must have done something to deserve this suffering. The idea that childbirth is simply dangerous and that medical ignorance is killing women never enters anyone's mind. Your other children, if you have any, are kept away from the birthing chamber, but they can hear your screams through the walls. They huddle together in terror, knowing that this might be the last time they hear their mother's voice. If you die, their lives will change dramatically. A stepmother who sees them as competition for her own future children, a father who might send them away to relatives or religious institutions. They're already orphans in their hearts, preparing for a motherless future. The wet nurse waits in the corner, ready to take your baby if it survives, and you don't. She's probably still nursing her own child, or maybe that child died and she needs the work. She'll raise your baby as her own, and if you die, that child will never know you existed beyond a name on a gravestone. Your whole existence will be reduced to a single line in the family Bible, died in childbed. As infection spreads through your body, you develop puerperal fever. Your temperature soars to dangerous heights. You shake so violently that the bed frame rattles against the floor. The discharge from your womb turns green and foul-smelling. Abscesses form where tissue was torn during delivery. Your breasts become engorged with milk that has nowhere to go, turning hard as stones and burning with infection. Every part of your body that participated in creating life now rebels against you. The remedies they try grow increasingly desperate. They hang eagle stones around your neck to speed delivery. They make you drink powdered mummy to strengthen your womb. They burn specific herbs and make you inhale the smoke. They tie your thighs together to keep the baby from falling out too fast. Every intervention is based on superstition and guesswork. No one has ever systematically studied what actually helps women survive childbirth. No one thinks it's important enough to investigate. If you somehow survive the immediate crisis, you face months of recovery that might kill you anyway, torn tissue that won't heal properly, fistulas that leak urine and feces, prolapsed organs that hang outside your body, chronic pain that never goes away, infections that flare up repeatedly, and through it all, the expectation that you'll be ready to conceive again as soon as you stop bleeding. Your husband has needs after all. The kingdom needs heirs. Your suffering is irrelevant to everyone but you. The psychological trauma is never acknowledged. The terror you feel every time your monthly bleeding stops, the nightmares about dying in childbirth, the panic attacks when your husband approaches your bed, the grief for the children you've lost, and the fear for the ones still living. These feelings have no name in your time. Women who express them are called hysterical or possessed. So you bury the trauma deep inside, where it festers like an untreated wound. You watch your daughters grow up, knowing they'll face the same fate. You want to warn them, prepare them, but what can you say? That marriage is a death sentence? That their bodies will be sacrificed on the altar of reproduction? That they'll be valued only for their ability to produce children, and discarded when that ability fails? These are truths that can't be spoken. So you teach them to embroider and sing, skills that will make them attractive to husbands who will eventually plant the seeds of their destruction. The few women who survive multiple births often end up permanently damaged. Backs twisted from repeated pregnancies, pelvises shattered from difficult deliveries, bladders that no longer function properly, wombs that fall out with the slightest strain. They hobble through their remaining years in constant pain, their bodies monuments to the cruelty of medieval childbirth. But they're considered the lucky ones. At least they lived. Some women try to avoid pregnancy altogether, using folk remedies and herbal contraceptives, but this is dangerous knowledge. Women who share such information risk being accused of witchcraft. The Church declares that any attempt to prevent conception is a mortal sin. Your purpose is to be fruitful and multiply, regardless of the cost to your body or your life. To refuse this destiny is to rebel against God and nature. The male physicians who write medical texts about childbirth have never witnessed a birth. They consider it beneath their dignity to attend to women's troubles. Their knowledge comes from ancient Greek and Roman texts, translated through Arabic, corrupted by centuries of copying errors. They pontificate about the mechanics of birth without ever seeing a baby emerge. They prescribe treatments that have killed thousands of women. And they're considered the experts, while midwives with decades of practical experience are dismissed as ignorant crones. If your baby is born with any kind of deformity, you face additional horrors. The child might be declared a changeling, swapped by fairies or demons. It might be killed outright or left in the woods to die. You'll be blamed for consorting with evil spirits or committing some sin that marked the child. The grief of losing a less than perfect baby is compounded by accusations and shame. You can't even mourn properly because admitting attachment to a demon-marked child suggests you're in league with Satan. The birth of twins presents its own nightmare. Multiple births are seen as animalistic, evidence that you behave like a beast rather than a proper Christian woman. The second twin is often considered evil, marked by the devil. If resources are scarce, one twin might be allowed to die to ensure the survival of the other. You have no say in which child lives or dies. That decision belongs to your husband or the priest. When a woman dies in childbirth, her funeral is a hasty affair. She's buried quickly, sometimes with the baby still inside her if it couldn't be extracted. There's no time for proper mourning because life must go on. Her husband needs a new wife. Her children need a mother. Her household needs a manager. She's replaced as efficiently as a broken tool, her individual existence forgotten as soon as the earth covers her grave. The survivors develop their own culture of shared trauma. They pass down advice through generations, most of it useless or actively harmful, but followed religiously because what else can they do? They create rituals and prayers, desperate attempts to control the uncontrollable. They support each other through repeated pregnancies and mourn together when another woman falls. It's a sisterhood forged in blood and terror, united by the understanding that any of them could be next. You learn to read the signs of impending death, the particular smell that means infection has set in, the color of blood that indicates hemorrhaging, the position of a baby that guarantees a fatal delivery. You become an expert in mortality, able to predict which women will survive and which won't. This knowledge is both a blessing and a curse. Sometimes it's better not to know that your time is running out. The rare male physicians who do attend births often make things worse through their arrogance and ignorance. They override the midwife's experience with their theoretical knowledge. They insist on using instruments when patients might succeed. They perform procedures that increase suffering without improving outcomes. But their word is law because they have university degrees and penises. The combination makes them unquestionable authorities on bodies they'll never inhabit. If you survive childbirth only to lose your baby, your grief is dismissed as female weakness. You're told to be grateful you lived. You're reminded that you can have more children. Your empty arms and leaking breasts are shameful reminders of failure. The tiny clothes you prepared with such hope are quickly hidden away. The cradle is removed from your sight. Everyone pretends the baby never existed, leaving you to mourn alone and in silence. Rich women sometimes hire multiple midwives hoping that quantity will make up for quality, but this often leads to conflicting advice and treatments that work against each other. One midwife prescribes heat while another insists on cold. The poor woman in labor becomes a battleground for competing theories, her body subjected to contradictory interventions that increase her suffering without improving her chances. One tries to speed labor while another tries to slow it. The birthing chamber itself becomes a character in your nightmare. Its walls have absorbed the screams of countless women. The floor is stained with blood that won't wash clean. The air is thick with the ghosts of mothers and babies who didn't survive. You can feel their presence as your own labor begins, a sisterhood of suffering that spans generations. Their pain mingles with yours. Their fear amplifies your own. Some women become so traumatized by repeated births that they lose their minds entirely. They're locked away in convents or asylums, their madness attributed to female weakness rather than the torture they've endured. They spend their remaining years reliving their birthing nightmares, screaming about babies that were never born or children they lost. Their families pretend they died in childbirth. In a way, they did. The economics of childbirth create additional suffering. Poor women return to heavy labor days after giving birth, their bodies still bleeding and torn. They work in fields and factories with babies strapped to their backs. No time for recovery or rest. Rich women are confined to bed for weeks, their muscles wasting away, making future births even more dangerous. Neither extreme promotes healing. Both prioritize social expectations over women's health. Medieval art depicting childbirth tells its own story of horror. Paintings show women's faces contorted in agony, while saints and angels hover uselessly overhead. Woodcuts illustrate the various positions and tools used in delivery, each more terrifying than the last. These images were meant to be instructional, but they serve as documentation of systematic torture disguised as medical care. As your final moments approach, you might experience a strange clarity. The pain recedes, replaced by a floating sensation. You see yourself from above, watch the frantic activity around your dying body with detached interest. Is this your soul preparing to leave? Or just your brain shutting down from lack of oxygen? Either way, it's a mercy, a brief respite from suffering before the final darkness. Your last thoughts might be of the children you're leaving behind. Who will love them? Who will protect them? Who will teach your daughters to be strong when strength leads to death? Or perhaps you think of the children you'll never have, the future that's being stolen from you, all the moments you'll miss. First words, first steps, weddings, grandchildren, an entire life erased because medical knowledge hasn't advanced enough to save you. The midwife closes your eyes and covers your face. She's seen this too many times to feel deep grief anymore. Another woman dead in childbed, another family shattered, another reminder of the price women pay for the continuation of the species. She gathers her tools, washes the blood from her hands, and prepares for the next call. Tomorrow or next week, another woman will need her services. The cycle continues. Your body is prepared for burial by the same women who attended your birth. They wash away the blood and fluid, dress you in your best clothes, and try to arrange your face into a peaceful expression. But they can't erase the evidence of your suffering. The bitten lips, the burst blood vessels in your eyes, the bruises from thrashing in pain. Death has ended your agony but preserved its record. The living quickly move on because they have no choice. Your husband remarries within months. Your children call another woman mother. Your possessions are distributed or sold. Within a year, it's as if you never existed except for a name in the parish records and a grave that will soon be forgotten. This erasure is the final insult, the last cruelty in a life defined by suffering. But your story doesn't truly end with your death. It echoes through generations of women who face the same dangers, the same ignorance, the same systemic disregard for female life. Each woman who dies in childbirth adds another verse to an endless song of sorrow. Each survivor carries the trauma forward, passing it to daughters who will face their own battles in birthing chambers. Change comes slowly, so slowly that thousands more will die before childbirth becomes remotely safe. The knowledge that could save lives exists in other cultures, among midwives who are dismissed as savages, but European arrogance ensures that women continue to die needlessly. It will take centuries before anyone thinks to wash their hands between patients, centuries more before pain relief is considered acceptable. The true horror of medieval childbirth isn't just the individual suffering, though that's terrible enough, it's the systematic nature of that suffering. The way entire societies organize themselves around the assumption that women dying in childbirth was natural and inevitable. The way religion, medicine, and law combined to ensure that women had no escape from reproductive servitude. The way generation after generation of women were sacrificed on the altar of ignorance and misogyny. Today, in regions where modern medical care is unavailable, women still face similar horrors. The medieval birthing chamber hasn't disappeared. It's simply relocated to places where poverty and neglect recreate the same deadly conditions. The same preventable deaths occur daily, the same suffering continues, the same voices cry out unheard. Understanding this history isn't just about acknowledging past horrors. It's about understanding that progress isn't inevitable, that rights won can be lost, that the birthing chamber can become a death chamber again if we forget the lessons written in blood. The women whose stories we've explored today deserve to be remembered not as statistics or cautionary tales, but as individuals who endured unimaginable suffering with whatever courage they could muster. It's about recognizing that women's reproductive health has always been treated as secondary to other concerns. They were daughters, wives, mothers, human beings whose lives had value beyond their reproductive capacity. Their pain was real, their deaths were preventable, their stories demand to be told. As we leave the medieval birthing chamber behind, carry with you the memory of those screams, that blood, that unnecessary suffering. Remember that every advance in maternal health care was paid for with women's lives. Remember that somewhere tonight, a woman is dying in childbirth from preventable causes, her suffering as real as any medieval mother's. We owe them this. Never let childbirth become torture again.